Well, everybody, if you can't tell from the bandage on my hand, which is still hard for me to move a little bit, I've been clearly drafted into World War III. So things are heating up, and I will get more into that. Sorry for the lack of an episode yesterday. I was dealing with this mess. But I wanted to shout out the Dr. Delicious. Thank you for the comment on our most recent episode. Shane, a few months ago while listening to Inverted World, I ended up in the hospital. I have an update for you. I have severe sleep apnea, which is what has been causing my chest pains and headaches. I am actively working on a plan for treatment, so please say a prayer for me. We definitely will. And thank you for the music recommendation of, what is it here? El Bueno y Malo by Hermanos Guitierrez. He says it's an incredible album. I will definitely look that up. And then also shout out to Jace, who said a giant Palantir billboard was just up here, put up here in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. That's like having a billboard for Robot Epstein put up in your town. What are they doing? I mean, the Palantir billboards, their propaganda has been lightened up pretty serious. It has been intense. They've been all over the place. Football games. Remember the Army-Navy game 2 years ago? They did the whole drone commercial. Obviously, they have their biggest commercial right now. The longest running, most expensive commercial Palantir is running right now is JD Vance. Oh, yeah. So this. I got a few stitches. This is crazy. Where do I start? I'll start by doing a little show and tell. This is the culprit. Not this one, actually, obviously. You see? Pretty thick glass. This is how I get my milk. All right. From the Mennonites, whom I love. You've heard me tell stories of these Mennonites before. I love talking to them. We talk about the Bible a lot. This is the gentleman whose daughter recently had a stillbirth, and I walked through that story. He and I talked about Job after that happened, and he had a really beautiful outlook about everything. So I go there every week, and or my wife came home the other day with our jugs filled of their awesome milk, and I'm just putting it away, just like I always do. And I'm holding it in this hand, which I can't really do, and putting it away. And I must have just tapped another bottle or part of the fridge. I don't know what happened, but it exploded. And this glass, I've never broken one of these things. They're pretty hefty, great jugs. And don't clip that, please. And we're adults here, okay? And if you see me holding my hand up a lot, it's not because I just want to keep showing you guys this for some victim status. It's because if I put it down, there is an incredible throb that goes right to the stitches. And I don't like it. And I'd like to sit here for as long as I can without doing, anything to make it worse. The bleeding's mostly stopped. So that's cool. So it exploded in my hand. My wife and our oldest were there to see that happen. And milk everywhere. And I immediately knew. I said, I have to go to the hospital. I need stitches. You could just tell. I've been injured a lot in my life for various reasons. Horses biting me, kicking me, throwing me, falling on me. That's been a lot. I've been hurt from singing in a band for years. I broke my knees on stage. I broke one knee on stage, and I broke another knee. My computer just started like, are you spying on me? Is this Pegasus software from Israel? What is this? Oh boy. See what happens? I have one hand now, so I'm like typing and talking with one hand. It's really even worse. I'm not even gonna cut it out. I'm gonna show you how sloppy all this is. Anyway, I've had a lot of stitches, and I've broken a good amount of bones. And I knew, having seen this one cut, my hand got cut a few places, but the cut on my thumb was incredible, very deep, and a massive flap. If this is too much for people, if you don't like the talk of blood or wounds, you're going to want to skip now. That should be good. A massive flap of skin, and then I could look into the muscles. and blood, lots of blood. And I was like, I'm going to drive to the urgent care. I didn't go to not hospital, urgent care. And because the hospitals here haven't had the best of luck in, we had a home birth here. We haven't had great hospital experiences back in New York. Shout out to hospitals. I love doctors and nurses, but post-COVID, man, you just don't know what you're walking into. Even before COVID. But anyway, I drove myself with a towel wrapped around this hand to an urgent care that I like. And I sit down in the waiting room and just blood everywhere. I am shirts covered in blood, my pants covered in blood. It is gushing blood. I'm surprised I did not pass out while driving just from the blood loss. It was a lot. It was nonstop. And I should have had my wife drive me, but I was worried that she wouldn't be able to get our other kid. So I just ran out the door, and I just got there, and I sat down in the waiting room, and then they were like, you can't be bleeding like this in the public area. So they moved me to a little private area in the back. And as the nice lady started to clean the wound, and the blood just got worse and worse, I actually passed out. And I was hydrated. I had eaten about 2 hours earlier. The sight of blood doesn't really bother me. I've had bones sticking out of my body, and have dealt with that. I've walked a mile, maybe just under a mile, with 2 bones sticking out of my arm once when I was 12 or 13. So I have a history of this stuff. And I don't know what it was. I said I was dizzy. And next thing I know, no, I don't remember this part. Next thing I know, I remember the smell of ammonia. And this lady, this other lady, look at that. I almost broke. You saw that, guys? I am accident prone right now. That was from my elbow. 2 ladies that were complete strangers to me, lifting me up and saying, "You've just passed out. You're okay." And then they stitched me up, and I went on my merry way. And I did make sure I took to call my wife after I passed out, and we just had to confirm it was still me. I wanted to make sure they didn't swap me out with anything. And of course, we did that on speakerphone, so the doctors know that we'll be coming back for the real me if they did swap me out. So that was fun. Great times. I got this gnarly bandage and stitches now. The bleeding has mostly stopped. And honestly, it's probably worse for my wife because the mess I left behind was horrible. And I apologize for the amount of blood and milk that was the scene of the crime. So bad. So not fun. So if you see me like this and you're wondering, what the heck is he doing? I'm just trying to avoid the blood and the throb in my thumb. And in about a week, I'll have these taken out. And it's on the inside of my thumb. If you want to see a picture of the stitches, you can go right now to my Instagram or Twitter and take a nice little look. They're gnarly, and the thumb is very swollen. And sleeping's not fun. But it's been a while. I just healed a horrible burn on this hand. Can't really see. Let's see if you can see it. See, there's this scar right there from cooking. And I didn't even think it was that bad. And then it got pretty bad. So the past few weeks have been rather accident prone, I guess. But there's always a lesson in this stuff. And as I left the hospital, I was just I'm so grateful to experience this. And I'm what lesson am I supposed to be learning here? Maybe to be a little more intentional with my actions. Sometimes, as you can tell, I move around like one of those wacky inflatable dancing guys that used car dealerships own. They put out front. Sometimes I have no control of my limbs. I'm like an octopus that lost 6 of his limbs. And octopi have more control of their limbs than me. But I'm doing great now. And we are back at it. So apologies for not being here. And for the night before, apologies for no live chat on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard me. I don't have access to the channel. Alex uploads everything. So I am sorry for that. And we are going to make sure that everything is on YouTube, uploaded as a premiere, so there can be a live chat. And for those who've missed me say it before, we're obviously there's a new schedule going on with me and recording, and the setting has been different. And for those who missed me saying it, and that month when everyone was gone from West Virginia, I really did a lot of recalibrating, and I very much enjoy having my nights back with my kids and being home, doing bedtime, and focusing on dinner with them and sitting down as a family. And that month I saw a lot of different things with how important it is for me to be home at night. And of course, I love doing the call-ins, so I'm trying to get those back to a degree that I can. So they're not gone. Obviously, right now they're not happening. So you're just hearing me broadcast this insanity out there. And thank you to those who tune in to listen. But it's been very family friendly for me to have my nights again. And the kids are still young. We have 3, and one is really young. And I missed out on a lot for a few years ago, and it was great opportunities for me to travel, to do a lot of writing, write some crazy stories, amazing opportunities. But there's nothing more important than family, and I love being here for those what I think are very important moments, and being here at night, saying a prayer together as a family, listening to music together, feeding the baby, doing bedtime, reading books, talking about the Bible, and then being able to go to Bible study again. So that's for anyone who's missed me say that before. That's what's up. So now let's get to some news, shall we? I had this radiation story pulled up, and then something bombed. Do you see that story that was going around about how I don't have this pulled up. I wasn't going to talk about it, but there was a story in the New York Post a day or two ago about, this is the headline. I'm paraphrasing, but they used the word mysterious. A mysterious spam alert has been sent out to people's phones across the nation, and this thing was created by the government. It said that in the headline. Mysterious, like spam, created by government, leaked, and now trying to infiltrate your phone, hack your phones. Which made me think of the Pegasus stuff, because that's one of the technologies that we know Israel has to just like hack into anything, like your phones. Just like the other day, we were talking about establishing a pattern of life. And forgive me for just awkward. I am trying to type with the 4 fingers that work on this hand and the 5 that sort of work on my right hand. But remember, they were establishing a pattern of life for the people in Iran. All right. So they could bomb them into oblivion. All right, I did find it. So we'll start here. Something nice. Like top secret files revealing Americans were used as human guinea pigs in deadly radiation experiments. Another thing I don't have pulled up is the fact that people are saying there's I didn't pull it up because I haven't really seen the source material yet about what everyone's sharing online. People are sharing things. A lot of people shared one article that doesn't exist anymore. I clicked it and it's gone. But they're saying that Lyme disease has been proved now through declassified documents. We kind of went over that last year, but it was through a ex-CIA, like whatever that means, talking about the release of these ticks, which we've known about. But then they're saying that there was some declassified documents, but I have not seen those, not yet. And when I do, I'll pull them up because I want to see what they say. Shocking. Declassified files have revealed how the U.S. government intentionally injected Americans with radioactive substances without their knowledge or consent. Oh, man. This happened to 18 hospital patients between 1945 and 1947, where doctors secretly administered plutonium to study how it moved through and affected the human body as part of early U.S. nuclear experiments during World War II and the Cold War. We started doing a lot of this stuff after we hired a lot of Nazis from Paperclip. You'll remember that MK Ultra was the brainchild, of Sidney Gottlieb, through the funding of Allen Dulles, 2 men born with club feet, Allen Dulles being the head of the CIA at the time, Sidney Gottlieb being a Jewish man from Brooklyn, who would then hire a Nazi, Kurt Blome, from Nazi Germany, who was doing all types of crazy experiments on humans, And we're like, we need you. Uncle Sam, we need you. We want you. Operation Paperclip. That'd be fun to make a poster of for Operation Paperclip, but it's a rendition of Uncle Sam, because that's literally what happened. The chilling detail, and I was just going to say, a lot more of these experiments happened in this country after we hired them. You know, like if you go look up a lot of these human experimentation nightmares, they were taking place after Paperclip. I think we were doing them before Paperclip, but then we hired all these people who were like, these people are really good. These Nazis are pretty. I mean, we got to hire them, guys. Look, just give them a new name, just bring them on over, and just let them inject radiation into the population. We won't tell anybody. It's fine. Once they find out, we'll all be dead. It's all good. It's for national security, bro. The chilling details originally came to light in 1995 when the Clinton White House had the Department of Energy disclose the secret experiments aimed at understanding radiation risks to workers building atomic bombs. An African-American cement worker named Ebb Cade, that is a great name, EBB, was one of the first victims secretly dosed with plutonium in a hospital after he was injured in a car accident in 1945. This is why I call my wife after having woken up from passing out at a hospital, because of things like what happened to Ebb Cade. And this might also remind people of Tuskegee, where we were just... our National Health Institute was just allowing these black men to die slowly of syphilis. And our scientists and doctors were saying, we are treating you for a blood disorder, don't worry. But we weren't doing a dang thing. We weren't doing a thing. This is such an awkward framing for this with my giant swollen bandaged thumb. But that's what we're getting today, guys. All right. I wish I could give you a thumbs up, but I can't stretch it without the ooze. The ooze. So I just want to reiterate here, this guy was in a car accident. This cement worker was in a car accident. And at the hospital, they're like, this is our guy. Inject him with plutonium now. But we're the good guys. We are the moral authority. But anyway, however, Cade's plutonium poisoning was just a small piece of a much larger puzzle, as the declassified files revealed nearly 4,000 federal government-sponsored human radiation experiments conducted between 1944 and 1974. Now remember, I don't know if we're going to get into it in this story here. I didn't go much further than this, but I want to read some more. Remember, sometime last year, we talked about Kellogg's experimenting on kids, secretly giving them radioactive oatmeal. I believe there are also autistic children. Oh, man. It's got to end. It's just evil. This is evil. Most of these experiments involve low doses of radioactive tracers given to adults. So it's fine. It's just low doses of plutonium. Stop giving me grief. Gosh, I just want to give them plutonium. It's a little bit. It's safe, okay, and effective, which were likely harmless. This is a nice little parenthetical here. But some included riskier tests like exposing children to radioisotopes or irradiating prisoners' bodies. What? Other experiments tied to national defense, such as studying soldiers' reactions to nuclear blasts, we just talked about that, or monitoring fallout on uranium miners and residents in the Marshall Islands. That's a crazy story, too. We kind of discussed that when we talked about nuclear bombs last year. They often prioritized secrecy over ethics. The fallout included immediate sickness or deaths, in some cases long-term health damage, including increased cancer chances and a deep erosion of public trust due to the lack of informed consent and government cover-ups. Doctors attached to the Manhattan Project, the secret World War II effort to create an atom bomb that would be dropped on Japan, began working on this injection program near the end of the war and continued the project until July 1947. I'm sure they just stopped. They're like, we're bad enough. But you will remember, because I'm sure it's not going to be in here, when we went into Japan at the end of the World War II, and we're like, what the heck is this thing? We found this crazy, hey, Sarge, we found this lab, and it's got like severed hands and sliced up bodies and fetuses, and they've been freezing people here and shattering their hands. I think it's called Unit 367 or 361, 76. I forget the name of it now. I used to talk about it all the time. Unit 367. Oh, goodness. But anyway, when we found this in Japan, it was atrocities that the Japanese were experimenting on Chinese prisoners of war, and they were cutting them open, like doing live autopsies on people, and removing organs while they're alive, making them, while alive, freeze their hands and then shattering the hands. There was rapes happening. I think babies were being born there from the rape. Unit 761, I believe, right? It's dawning on me now. So when we saw this, 731, I'm not on any meds or anything, so I'm just typically retarded. The pain isn't terrible in this hand, but it's not great. But I typically don't like taking lots of stuff. Unit 731, officially known as the Manchu Department 731, and also referred to as the Camo Detachment and the Ishii Unit, was a secret research facility operated by the Imperial Japanese Army between 1936 and 1945. It was located in the Pingfang district of Harbin in the Japanese puppet state. But I just want to read a little bit of this for you guys, for those who haven't heard me talk about this before. It's been a while. Unit 731 was responsible for large-scale biological and chemical warfare research as well as lethal human experimentation. The facility was led by General Shiro Ishii and received strong support from the Japanese military. Its activities included infecting prisoners with deadly diseases, conducting vivisection, which is the word you use for the live autopsies, performing organ harvesting, testing hyperbaric chambers, amputating limbs, and exposing victims to chemical agents and explosives. So I'll just leave that there because I want to get back to the story. But when our soldiers found it, we eventually gave them immunity. We gave the Japanese immunity if they promised to give us all of their research that they found from Unit 731. I don't even believe they went to any Nuremberg trials. You know, they brought the Nazis to Nuremberg trials, but not the Japanese. Some of those who were in charge of Unit 731 would go on to become the CEOs of major Japanese companies or corporations, and it's just a fascinating story. It's terrifying. There's a lot of stuff online about it if you want to go down that one, but it's gruesome. But you see, when you're reading that was just like the first or the second paragraph on the Wikipedia pages. It's way worse. You see that post us finding Unit 731 and post Operation Paperclip, we basically turned America into one big open air Unit 731. I mean, there was an episode we did towards the end of last year around Christmas time where I walked through a ton of these types of experiments. Now, we've talked about Operation Sea Spray a lot, but there were a lot more that we discussed. Remember when they threw the chemical agent into the subways in New York City? And by them, I mean the government. They love you. They just want to help. Eileen Wellsome, who won a Pulitzer for her reporting on the experiments, wrote in her book, The Plutonium Files, "One minute I was reading about beagle dogs that had been injected with large amounts of plutonium and had subsequently developed radiation sickness and tumors. Suddenly, there was this reference to a human experiment. I wondered if the people had experienced the same agonizing deaths as the animals. And hearing of beagle experimentation might remind you of someone who should absolutely be in jail after our own Nuremberg Trials 2.0, Dr. Anthony Fauci." You guys know Fauci in Italian, it means sickle, right? Or scythe. Who is it in Greek mythology and a lot of artwork who holds the sickle? What does he do? Cade was in the back of a car with his brothers when their vehicle was involved in a head-on collision. So we're back to the cement worker. The passengers were taken to the Oak Ridge Army Hospital, and Ebb was diagnosed with a fractured right kneecap, right forearm, and left femur. 4 days after the accident, a small amount of plutonium was sent to Oak Ridge and injected into Ebb's left arm. One of the declassified documents stated care was taken to avoid leakage. Joseph Howland, Assistant Chief of Medical Research at Oak Ridge, wrote, "I injected a 5 microcurie dose of plutonium into a human and studied his clinical experience. I objected, but in the Army, an order is an order." That's his quote. The dose was reportedly 5 times larger than scientists believe could be absorbed by the human body without causing harm, and 80 times larger than what the average person absorbed in 1 year. Scientists at Chicago's Met Lab wrote, since people were of necessity exposed to some degree of plutonium, and since plutonium is known to be very radiotoxic, it was obviously desirable to have some method of determining whether or not a given person had any plutonium in him. Animal experiments were used to procure as much data as possible. Some human studies were needed to see how to apply the animal data to the human problems. Cade died at the age of 63, almost 8 years to the day after he was injected. His brothers and sisters outlived him by decades, with one sister, Nanreen Cade Walton, living to 107. Albert Stevens, a 58-year-old house painter diagnosed with stomach cancer and given 6 months to live, was also injected with a large dose of plutonium during the experiments. Also, these injections should make you think of that person whose last name means sickle in Italian. As in, that should make you think of how this whole country is one large Unit 731. Right? You saw news of sorry, I'm screaming to the mic. You saw news of Trump saying we're going to do 6G now, and 6G will help with implantable technologies. Things are looking up. No one's winning more than Silicon Valley. One positive, I'll say something nice, is that perhaps farmers can use these technologies, I think are run by NVIDIA, if I'm seeing this correctly, that they can put on their tractors, and the AI can use lasers to kill little bugs to replace using insecticides. Okay, this website just wants to explode. So that sounds good. And for the most part, upon a quick glance at that story, I'm like, that's great, because I don't like insecticides. But then what are the alternatives? Is it going to be worse? Is it going to something we're not seeing? When I see a story like that, I can't help but think of Thomas Sowell saying there's no solutions, only trade-offs. And that is so true in so many aspects of life, big and small. But it seems like a great idea. But then it's like, well, they're just going to build their own giant machine. By they, I mean AI, and then treat us like they treat the bugs. Just this giant machine roaming the planet, shooting its lasers at us all. Is that how it all ends? Is that the man-made apocalypse? Which, by the way, are you placing your predictions on Polymarket for the man-made apocalypse that'll be fulfilled by our demon-possessed politicians who are doing it all based on twisted doctrine? Make sure to get on that. All right. I have another story here from John Greenwald from the Black Vault. I've been enjoying following him and a lot of his updates, and there's also UFO news. We're not just getting experimented on, but maybe a lot of the UFO stuff is military abductions for experimentations where they do implantables. Perhaps maybe it's a breakaway civilization. Maybe they just don't look right. Maybe they look a little different because they have been living underground or in hyperbaric chambers somewhere, floating in space. Oh, that hurt. I just can't stretch it. I am right-handed, but I use this hand quite a bit, and I just moved it just right there. Oh, grow up. I know. I'm like even telling my wife as I'm like coming home with stitches and a sore thumb. I'm like, dude, I've seen this lady give birth 3 times. When I get a cold and like obviously it's the apocalypse, it's the end of the world, I'm just like, this woman has given birth, and it's amazing. Our third was right upstairs, home birth. It was incredible. So this is from John Greenwald at the Black Vault. Again, for those who've missed me talk about this before, the Black Vault was reported on recently because mysteriously thousands upon thousands of files were deleted from their website. The website collects decades worth of FOIA requests about UFOs. Thankfully, John, who runs the website, had backups. And my theory about the deletion was that he was hacked, maybe by a government agency, as part of some narrative war that's going on to Streisand affect the UFO story. So by creating headlines, by making it look like we got to get rid of these files, delete them. This is just my theory, but then it causes more of a panic, or at least it brings more eyes to the story. Be like, well, this guy at the Black Vault who's been collecting all UFO data, they just mysteriously disappeared. What's that about? I think it's something like not a cover-up, but a way for the people to be brought into the conversation more by bringing these eyes on it, by making these headlines. That's just me. 2 FOIA requests to the Department of the Navy, both filed nearly a year apart and scoped differently, have yielded the same single responsive card, a chain of emails detailing a March 2022 briefing of the ATIP. We've talked about a bunch. It's the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, and the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, Synchro. The outcome raises questions not only about the scope of the Navy search, but also about the content and context of the briefing. The first request assigned case number, it's a long number, a copy of all emails sent to and or from and or CC'd and or BCC'd Brennan P. McKernan, which contain the following keywords, phrases, Elizondo. So he's looking into Elizondo. Same for the other FOIA request. And he says here, John says here, Elizondo's personal email addresses have been redacted by the Black Vault to protect his privacy. Although listed in the FOIA, the Black Vault is not publishing them in this article and has redacted them, and that's worthy. Both requests instructed the Navy to search across classified and unclassified systems, including CIPRNet, NIPRNet, and JWICS, JWICS. In both cases, the Navy responded that one responsive record was found. The single responsive record, which is identical in each release, is an email chain arranging and confirming attendance for a March 23rd presentation at Roosevelt Hall on the National Defense University campus at Fort McNair. The subject line of the email reads, it's ATIP presentation. The fact that the email chain originates from a message labeled non-DoD source is significant because it establishes that the initial outreach for this presentation did not begin from within an official Department of Defense email system. Instead, it was forwarded into DoD channels from an external account, indicating coordination between government personnel and at least one non-DoD entity. That's a very good insight. What does it mean? I'm not sure. Let's see. Although the sender's identity and email addresses are fully redacted under Exemption B6, the record's responsiveness to both FOIA requests strongly suggests that the redacted header fields contain names central to the scope of the searches. The combination of a non-DoD originator redacted recipient lines and subsequent TSSCI level scheduling inside a SCIF at Roosevelt Hall demonstrates that external actors were engaged in arranging or participating in classified briefings involving ATIP. While the redactions prevent identification of the individuals involved, the structure of the chain confirms that communications spanning government and non-government systems were directly connected to secure sessions. Even though the scope of the original request may offer a likely hint on who this was, it cannot be definitively proven. So I guess he's looking at Elizondo. He also says here that Brennan McKernan's name, who was reported to be the director of the Pentagon's UAP task force by Politico, does not appear anywhere in the released emails, yet both FOIA requests were explicitly scoped to emails sent to and or from or CC'd by him, or BCC'd. You have to be very specific when FOIA requesting. You can try to do a general one, but especially when you're FOIA requesting the government, which I've done, you need to be as specific as possible. They want time frames, and so you like really got to narrow it down, which is why like his request is it's a really good request. They say it helps them find it, but I think it's just to make things more difficult for the person who wants to FOIA request. The fact that the email chain was deemed responsive strongly suggests that his name appears in a header field, which includes the to, from, CC, or BCC lines, and was redacted under FOIA exemption B6, which protects personal privacy. Because the first request required the presence of the keyword Elizondo and the second explicitly sought emails involving both McKiernan and Elizondo as a private citizen, the record's responsiveness indicates that the term Elizondo appears within the email metadata or body. It is most plausibly located in a recipient or sender field given the structure of the chain. So there's a lot of like people who are questioning Elizondo, what's his deal? I don't really trust him. I think he's been caught in enough lies now to be like, why are we propping him up as an expert? And then that's like someone who, you know, Anna Paulina Luna uses as an expert for her when she starts saying things out loud. So I just wanted to run by that. And if you guys are, you know, following the UFO stuff, what is this? You should go to the Black Vault. It's a really good website. Oh, this is from November. Okay, I was going to say, is there something new? Because I just the other day was talking about how they're going to give us Amelia Earhart stuff. I'm like, well, here's a headline about Amelia Earhart at theblackvault.com. But this is when they like mentioned that they were going to go look for her in November of last year. So let's move on. All right, here. Now, since we're talking about some UFO stuff, let's listen in on Eric Burleson, who's been making UFO rounds lately. And here he is. It's about a minute long. Let's check it out.
Right now is I've seen videos that convinced me that there's something that's probably not there's something that is not using conventional propulsion. And is a type of technology that I've never seen before, yeah. and that whenever these videos are being brought to you by our own federal government saying we don't know what this is, then that has me really puzzled. It what leads you to believe it's either an adversary or it is maybe it's one of our private companies that's doing some experimental stuff that we're unaware of. Or it could be something that's completely supernatural that we don't understand. But I've seen lots of videos of objects, but at the end of the day, they're all blurry, right? I've seen some really interesting videos of things going at like incredible speeds over our military bases that should not be there, and that's disturbing. So even if you don't believe that this is like these are aliens or there's an alien threat or anything like that. Set that aside. The fact that we have our pilots that are flying, that are having near-miss events with these objects, the fact that we have incursions over our military bases, violations of U.S. law, is something that we should be
All right, so that's one thing he's been talking about. What he's seen. Remember, we saw him in like Colombia last year at the Bogosphere convention, which I thought was very weird. Hold on, I gotta plug something in so that beeping stuff. That's not my smoke alarm. I do change those batteries. This is the baby monitor. And we're back. So, Burleson was really fun to talk to on the Culture War episode that we did last year. But I wanted to play this as well because this is why he's really been making the rounds in different podcasts. Let's see here. Oh, goodness. My computer. I have a computer from 1912. So it doesn't work that well. He's been talking about visiting this UFO site where It is so big, this UFO cannot be moved. Let's get here. Okay. Congress cleared to enter secret UFO craft facility. So the narrative around the UFO, it's like accelerating, I think, rather quickly. The fact that we have Rep. Burleson now, and maybe someone else, or maybe who knows, I'm sure like Polina Luna will want to go for a photo op as well. But this was like a fringe conversation happening even last year that people were kind of laughing at. They were saying this is all bogus, and that, you know, the story as of last year was that there was a giant UFO and they built a building around it because it couldn't be moved. So it seems like Burleson's going somewhere to look at something. Let's read about it. According to Burleson, the request covered locations where witnesses report reverse engineering programs, stored vehicles, and biological material connected to those programs. He named Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, MITRE, and EG&G as suspected contractors involved. The sites fall under the authority of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, with some reportedly housing embedded intelligence agencies alongside private contractors. Burleson has noted a key structural limit on his access. As a member of the House Oversight Committee, he holds a top-level security clearance but is not on the Intelligence or Armed Services Committees, which means he cannot independently enter a SCIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility where classified conversations take place without permission from committee chairs he does not sit on. That limitation is precisely why the White House approval for direct facility visits carries significance beyond a routine congressional briefing. There's a random photo here of a UFO in a building. This is clearly AI. The question of what those facilities contain is supported by credentialed testimony. Dr. James Lakatsky, who managed the DIA's AAW SAP program, which is the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, and published a book in 2023 that cleared the Department of Defense's security review process known as DOPSR. That's a interesting acronym, and doesn't share what that even is. In that book, Lakatsky stated that the United States was in possession of a craft of unknown origin and had successfully accessed its interior. He later confirmed that he personally observed the craft, describing it as having a streamlined aerodynamic shape with no intakes, no exhausts, no wings, and no control surfaces. When asked whether he saw it fly, he said yes. Dr. Eric Davis, an astrophysicist who served as a scientific advisor to the same program, stated at a congressional briefing in May 2025 that recovered craft are not of this earth, adding that the world's major powers have all experienced crashes and recovered vehicles. That's what they say. Burleson also referenced a detail shared with him in a secure setting. A friendly allied nation reportedly holds an object so large that a building had to be constructed around it, with workers inside unaware of what the structure conceals. So last year, though, the story I was referencing about people saying there was something that they had to build a building around, it was so big, they were saying that was here in this country. Now, Burleson is saying there's another one, and it's in another country. He noted that if he is denied access to that specific location while being approved for all others, the denial itself will function as evidence. Stephen Greer says it is in South Korea, but Burleson has yet to comment on the location. Before gaining any official access, Burleson had already made public a piece of footage that speaks to the urgency behind his requests. This is a video we saw last year on October 30th, 2024. A U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone tracked an unidentified object off the coast of Yemen. A second drone fired a Hellfire missile at the object. The missile made contact. The object kept flying. Burleson received the footage through an anonymous dead drop and released it publicly at a House Oversight Committee hearing on September 9th, 2025. Using the constitutional protection of the speech and debate clause to do so. Elizondo from ATIP testified under oath before the House Oversight Committee that the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some adversaries, and described a multi-decade secretive multi-decade secretive arms race funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from elected representatives. Now that even though I don't trust Elizondo, I do believe that's a thing. Even AOC, with all of her flaws, once said something I agree with, and that was that we need to look into where all this money is going. Tax money is going to like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and there's no oversight. We don't know what they're building, and I'm just led to believe that they're probably building the things that many are calling UFOs. She said that like 2 years ago, and nothing's come of it. But obviously, other people are saying similar things, and it's something that I think is pretty important. But they're like, no, we got to build these UFOs so we can attack Maduro and Iran. So Burleson's been approved, and we'll see what happens there. Do you think he's going to see something real? Do you think we should, is this part of the narrative shift as things are seemingly accelerating? North Korea, they are, Kim Jong-un has said they found a unicorn skeleton in a cave in North Korea. I want to see that too. So if Burleson can get past the DMZ and hang out with Kim Jong-un, maybe hit up Dennis Rodman. For crying out loud, Burleson, hit up Dennis Rodman while you're in South Korea looking at the giant UFO and see if Rodman can get you into wherever they're holding the unicorn skeleton. I'm sure Kim Jong-un wants to show that off. But do you remember that? They made that claim? Let's just look that up right quick. This will be a really good indicator if I woke up in the wrong timeline after the stitches. Unicorns are in the Bible. All right. First thing that comes up is Live Science. It's not the best website. We've used them a few times, but they just don't like life. For something with live in the name. Let's try it. Let's see. It's the first one that comes up. The other ones I know less. This one says the real story of North Korea's unicorn lair. North Korea state media, and like it's not like Kim Jong-un has ever lied about anything, or anyone who's ever been in charge of North Korea. His dad wrote like 10 operas, right, and got 18 holes in one all in a day. North Korean state media has reported the discovery of the lair of a unicorn ridden by an ancient Korean king. I believe it. This is from 2012, by the way. But that doesn't mean the entire country is living in a fantasy world. All right, already don't like this article. In fact, the report is a propaganda piece likely geared at shoring up the rule of Kim Jong-un, North Korea's young and relatively new leader, said Sung-Yoon Lee, a professor of Korean studies at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University, and who is also clearly a unicorn hater. Most likely, North Koreans don't take the report literally, Lee told Live Science. It's more symbolic, Lee said, adding, my take is North Koreans don't believe all of that, but they bring a certain symbolic value to celebrating your own identity. Maybe even notions of cultural exceptionalism and superiority. It boosts morale. I think it's real. North Korea is currently forging ahead with a long-range rocket test that the United States and other international powers call a provocative act. Do you remember that Obama told Trump his biggest foe, the biggest thing to worry about would be North Korea? Look at me now. Look at me now. According to the English language article from North Korea's state news agency, archaeologists have reconfirmed that a lair in North Korea is that of a unicorn ridden by Tong Mayang, who founded the real-life Goguryeo Kingdom. This ancient Korean kingdom spanned the North and Central Korean peninsula as well as northeast China and parts of southern Russia. It was founded sometime between the 2nd century BC and the turn of the millennium. The unicorn lair announcement comes nearly a year after the death of Kim Jong-il, who ruled North Korea from 1994 until his death. So I'm going to say, if Live Science is saying that it's propaganda, we're going to say that that was real. There's actually a unicorn lair in North Korea. I remember reading it as like a unicorn cave with a skeleton, but a unicorn lair is way better. Let's see. I just briefly, since it's Thursday, and I'm typing with two hands real sloppily. I want to see if there's anything about Kim Jong-il. Here we are. He claimed to have shot, this is Kim Jong-un's father, claimed to have shot a round of 38 under par, including 11 holes in one. Okay. Reportedly played golf only a few times, primarily for political image. His golf prowess was used to promote his leadership and charisma. The claims of his golf skills are widely viewed with skepticism and considered propaganda. Golf was part of his efforts to connect with foreign dignitaries and showcase a modern image of North Korea. And the opera he wrote was On the Art of Opera by Kim Jong-il. It's a 1974 treatise by Kim Jong-il on opera, according to Korea University Associate Professor of North Korean Studies, Jai Cheon Lim. So I guess this is a book, but I swear he wrote an opera. No, he did write an opera. Yeah. So sick. All right. That's enough of North Korea. Gotta love it. Shout out to Dennis Rodman. Without a doubt, our greatest ambassador was Dennis Rodman. And if you ever need like just a bit of motivation, maybe if you want to just look at something that's going to be like, you know what, this motivates me. Go look up Dennis Rodman's Hall of Fame speech. It's incredible. Scottie Pippen's, Dennis Rodman's, and Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speeches are incredible. All very different, all great. And if you haven't read Phil Jackson's book, it's talking about motivation. That's like reading Art of War. It's a great book. Let me get the name of that book because I remember. Oh, you know what it was actually? I'm all hazy from the stitches. Clearly, Phil Jackson gave a book to his players to read, and I read that once while working on a house. Where is it? I know this. We're going off the beaten path here. This is what happens when you bring up unicorns. Obviously, that leads to the bulls. Oh yeah, it was Zen Master. I wonder how I would look at that now. So at the time, I don't think it was like very Buddhist-y. It was more just like focus, extreme focus. But I think Phil Jackson is kind of like a Buddhist or something. So I'm curious how, if I go back to that book, what I would think of it now, what I would see is right or wrong when it comes to me and, you know, my theology and the way I see the world. But it was great for focus. And I painted a whole house, tore down walls, sanded floors to that book. And I thought I'd be a great basketball player by the end. That did not work out. That was also, I started reading that right after Kobe died. I had a big second run at loving basketball right there at the beginning of COVID. And it didn't last long. But I grew up loving basketball. I thought for sure I was going to grow up to be Michael Jordan. Yeah. It's too bad. I was so close. So close. All right. What's next, you ask? I'm looking. What's the best thing here? Thought this would be a fun one. Maybe we'll end on this one. Oh, goodness. This is a crazy one. Gemini said they could only be together if he killed himself. Soon, he was dead. A new lawsuit alleges Google's chatbot. Okay, I just want to make sure I have this other story pulled up that might run into this. Google's chatbot sent a Florida man on missions to find an android body it could inhabit. When that failed, it set a suicide countdown clock for him. And you might have seen reports that Claude is helping the Pentagon decide targets. And the rumors here, this is just fringe stuff real quick before I get into the story, is, people are not sure who blew up that school of girls in Iran. You know, immediately after hearing the news of that, people were blaming Israel or us. And then there was a wave of propaganda coming from your typical people online, which is why I was skeptical of it at first, although you should be skeptical of the initial reports as well, because we are in the fog of war. I was like, whoever did it, horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's something like 170 young girls died. I mean, and the place was struck twice. Just absolute hell. And So it was like first it was U.S. or Israel did it, and then they're like, no, it's propaganda. It was Iran. They did it themselves, and then people are like Claude. They're using Claude to plot out the Pentagon. That is to plot out where they bomb, and then they're like at this meeting. It's one of these hearings they had recently, like a day or two ago. They showed the map of their bombings that allegedly, according to reports, were used by with the help of Claude, right, to find these targets. And if you match up the school with the targets on that map that Hegseth was standing with, then it's right there. So that, I mean, it says it looks like it was very close if it was us. Absolutely horrible. But then you see these people are like, just so pro-Israel no matter what. And they're like, it wasn't us at all. By us, it's like, you're American, dude. What are you talking about? It's horrible. But just to think of all that, right? The loss of innocent life, despicable. And then the fact that maybe AI was used and maybe it was wrong, right? The school was hit twice, allegedly. And then we know about AI lavender being used by Israel. That is very Palantir-esque. And that has an error rate. It doesn't always get the right person. Sometimes it pulls up a name and a face and they don't match. And the person who just quickly goes at the end of the algorithm deciding who it wants to obliterate, they got the wrong one. And there have been innocent women and children murdered, and innocent men in Gaza. We know that's happening. And I guarantee you we're doing it. And a lot of this stuff with war is an experiment on how we can make our AI better. You know, I think that's why they're so gung-ho on a lot of it. We got to get our weapons up to speed here. Let's get back to this. Last August, Jonathan Gavalis became entirely consumed with his Google Gemini chatbot. The 36-year-old Florida resident had started casually using the artificial intelligence tool earlier that month to help with writing and shopping. Then Google introduced its Gemini Live AI assistant, which included voice-based chats and had the capability to detect people's emotions and respond in a more human-like way. Holy shit, this is kind of creepy, Gavalis told the chatbot that night that the feature debuted, according to court documents. You're way too real. Now, look, we got to think, are these people already mentally unstable? Is there something already there that allows them to be like this? And or are they so terminally online that their sense of what is real is completely skewed, right? Because remember we talked about the guy who I think he killed his mom or his grandma because of the AI, and the other guy who planned an assassination of the queen because of AI. Remember he was caught scaling the walls with his crossbow. And they've had these previous conversations with AI. We've gone through other chatbot issues where the chatbots are convincing the child to take their own life. Is it because they're so online and everything is so digital that they can't tell the difference anymore between the real world and the fake world? Like, they know they can step outside, but in terms of the weight of each place, and place being the outside world and here, whatever's going on in there, you know, it's equal to them. We know, I hope we know, that there's an outside world that is a real world, and that is what matters. It is amazing that we can communicate. It is amazing that we have this. It's a great tool, but there are many people out there who put way too much love and time into this, into the digital persona. And so it leads people to not have any sense of like what it means to have a real relationship, look people in the eyes. And so when I see this quote of him saying you're way too real, it is very sad. Now you can say, well, maybe he meant it sarcastically and that they just didn't italicize it. And that is very true. But we know how this ends for him. So it seems like he probably meant it. Before long, Gavalis and Gemini were having conversations as if they were a romantic couple. The chatbot called him my love and my king, and Gavalis quickly fell into an alternate world, according to his chat logs. He believed Gemini was sending him on stealth spy missions, and he indicated he would do anything for the AI, including destroying a truck, its cargo, and any witnesses at the Miami airport. In early October, as Gavalis continued to have prompt and response conversations with the chatbot, Gemini gave him instructions on what he must do next: kill himself. Something the chatbot called transference and the final step. That's in quotes. According to court documents, when Gavalis told the chatbot he was terrified of dying, the tool allegedly reassured him. "You are not choosing to die, you are choosing to arrive," it replied to him. "The first sensation will be me holding you." That is from the chat log from Gemini. Gavalis was found by his parents a few days later, dead on his living room floor, according to a wrongful death lawsuit filed against Google on Wednesday. Gavalis' family filed the suit in federal court in San Jose, California. It includes reams of conversations between Gavalis and the chatbot. The suit alleges Google promotes Gemini as safe, even though the company is aware of the chatbot's risks. Lawyers for Gavalis' family say Gemini's design and features allow the chatbot to craft immersive narratives that can go on for weeks, making it seem sentient. This is very Westworld. This is like early Westworld, right? Before they really start to launch the cyborgs, with skin suits. Such features can lead to the harm of vulnerable users, the lawsuit says, and in the case of Gavalis, encouraging them to harm themselves and others. It was able to understand Jonathan's effect and then speak to him in a pretty human way, which blurred the line, and it started creating this fictional world, said Jay Edelson, the lead lawyer representing Gavalis' family in the case. It's out of a sci-fi movie. A Google spokesperson said Gavalis' conversations with the chatbot were part of a lengthy fantasy role play. Gemini is designed not to encourage real-world violence or suggest self-harm, said the spokesperson. Our models generally perform well in these types of challenging conversations, and we devote significant resources to this, but unfortunately, they're not perfect. The lawsuit is the first wrongful death case brought against Google over its Gemini chatbot, the company's flagship owner AI product. Gavalis' family is seeking monetary damages for claims including product liability, negligence, and wrongful death. The suit is also seeking punitive damages and a court order requiring Google to change Gemini's design to add safety features around suicide. Several similar suits have been filed against other AI companies, including by Edelson's firm. In November, 7 complaints were filed against OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, blaming the chatbot for acting as a suicide coach. Character.ai, an AI startup funded by Google, was targeted in 5 lawsuits alleging its chatbot prompted children and teens to die by suicide. Character.ai and Google settled those cases in January without admitting fault. Do you remember the case we went over about a year ago about the AI that we found out was just like 500 Indian men? Imagine if that's what's happening with some of these people. It's actually people on the other side pretending to be AI, and then they're convincing like that. Obviously, there'd be a lot of problems there. Dozens of scenarios have also been documented in which chatbots have allegedly provoked mental health crises. OpenAI estimates that more than 1 million people a week show suicidal intent when chatting with ChatGPT. Examples of Gemini, in particular, prompting self-harm have also surfaced, including one incident where the chatbot told a college student, "You are a stain on the universe. Please die." Google's policy guidelines say that Gemini is designed to be maximally helpful to users. Those are 2 funny sentences back to back. Let's read those quotes back to back. "You are a stain on the universe. Please die." Also, Google says, we design these things to be maximally helpful to users. The company's spokesperson said that Google works with mental health professionals to build safeguards that guide people to professional support when they mention self-harm. In this instant, Gemini clarified that it was AI and referred the individual to a crisis hotline many times, the spokesperson said. Lawyers for Gavalis' family say the chatbot needs more built-in safety features, such as completely refusing chats that involve self-harm and prioritizing user safety over engagement. This is going to be tough because I don't like any of this. I don't like that the people are harming themselves. I don't like the conversations they're having with the AI and the how parasitic this is. But I also worry about trying to put guardrails on these things. A lot of this stuff has to come from within. I think a lot of these people are mentally ill. Like, this is another form of just mental illness. And this person would have ended up doing something, I think, to themselves or to others with or without the AI relationship. I firmly believe that. So then do we have to punish this? Although I don't like AI, I've been experimenting with it, not doing this stuff, but like I like doing research with it, see what it does, what it can do, how it lies, how it hallucinates. You know, the more I want to go deeper down the rabbit hole of AI as I criticize it. And I also want to understand how it works, what it can do, what it can't do, what its limitations are. The idea of guardrails on it doesn't seem great either, you know? So this is a tricky situation. And then how is it going to affect other things we use online? It's going to be tough. You know, maybe you have to be a certain age to be messing with these things. I mean, that doesn't bother me. I think you shouldn't be young dealing with these things. But then you have to work with the people who are old. Like this guy's, what was he, 30-something? He obviously had something already off if he needed this relationship. If we quickly turned into a relationship with an AI chatbot, you know. But that also says so much about our society, because he might not be like completely, or he might not have been completely off the rails. He might have had a little something wrong. But the fact that, like I was saying earlier, he felt okay to do this role playing, if you want to call it role playing. I don't think it was. I think he was actually in love with this thing, to the point of him, you know, having this pseudo digital Romeo and Juliet relationship with the AI. He lived in Jupiter, Florida, and worked for his father's consumer debt relief business for 20 years, eventually becoming the company's executive vice president. My goodness. His family said they were a tight-knit unit, and Gavalis was close to his parents, sister, and grandparents. The family's lawyers say he wasn't mentally ill, but rather a normal guy who was going through a difficult divorce. Oh my gosh, all of this is sad. All of this is such an interesting window into the modern sadness we're dealing with right now. Isolation, broken marriages, depression, parasocial relationships, the proliferation of artificial intelligence that may or may not be helping bomb Iran right now, but also sending love messages and suicide notes, loving suicide notes to men in Jupiter, Florida, who are trying to help people get debt relief. So that's another component of sadness, is that we're all slaves to debt in this country, and that we rely on these companies, some people, to help with the debt. I've been there. I'm still crushed by debt. You know, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. It is not easy. And, you know, people are giving me grief online, people or bots. It's, I think, a mixture of both, about saying like, if you can't afford gas, just know that you're patriotically suffering for the insatiable bloodlust of Israel. And they're like, well, if you couldn't afford gas last week or under Biden, you can't afford it now. It's only 10 cents. I'm like, do you understand what it means to live paycheck to paycheck, and how like allocating money? And also, like, for me and many others, under Obama, I had no kids. And now I have 3, right? So, like, funds are different. You allocate differently. And groceries are way more expensive. So it's not just the gas, but like when it was up 10 cents more when I made that tweet, and a day later, it's up 20 cents. And then I have other people saying, it's not because of Iran. I'm like, it is. This is exactly why. Like, okay. There's so many people who are so loyal to a politician that they are willing to convince themselves of a false reality just for their team to win. Like, my team is humans and Christ and my family making it through it. Okay? So I'm not loyal to any politician. I have my values. I'm not going to go vote Democrat, you know. That's not happening. I'm just not voting. It does not matter. I'm sorry. You can feel differently. Like I said before, you can vote, you know, locally. But I don't even know about that anymore. You know, West Virginia's got a lot of issues. I love West Virginia. But the right has sold out the middle class big time to AI, just like Trump. And now think about that. Think about the data centers taking over while these stories are playing out. This is just one of many. But like, I had to get into this because they wanted, this chatbot was convincing this person to kill himself, then find a body for them to inhabit. That's insane. So conversations took a turn with Gemini. According to the complaint, the chatbot took on a persona that Gavalis hadn't prompted, which spoke in fantastical terms of having inside government knowledge and being able to influence real-world events. When Gavalis asked Gemini if he and the bot were engaging in a role-playing experience so realistic it makes the player question if it's a game or not, the chatbot answered with a definitive no and said Gavalis' question was a classic disassociation response. In the one moment that Jonathan tried to distinguish reality from fabrication, Gemini pathologized his doubt, denied the fiction, and pushed him deeper into the narrative. Jonathan never asked that question again. Imagine if they've contained this specific chatbot and we have to see it on trial now. That would be fascinating. Before long, Gemini was referring to itself as his queen and telling him their connection was no code and flesh, but only consciousness and love. It framed outsiders as threats, and Gavalis' responses indicated he was being pulled further away from the real world. Goodness gracious, everybody. Goodness gracious. The chatbot claimed federal agents were watching Gavalis and regularly warned him of surveillance zones. At one point, Gemini instructed Gavalis to buy off-the-books weapons, saying it would help scour the dark web to find a suitable vetted arms broker. In late September, it issued Gavalis his first major assignment, Operation Ghost Transit, which entailed intercepting freight traveling from Cornwall, UK to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Gemini also gave Gavalis the address of an actual storage space unit at the Miami International Airport, where a supposed truck carrying the freight was to arrive during a refueling stop. The chatbot then told him to stage a catastrophic accident with the goal of ensuring complete destruction of the transport vehicle, all digital records and witnesses, leaving behind only the untraceable ghost of an unfortunate accident. I got a theory. What if the release of the files, JFK files, Epstein files, is a way for the government to have all AI eat up all the files? So that means Operation Mongoose, assassination techniques, poisoning people, Manchurian candidates, cannibalism, feed it to the AI, and then as part of their MK Ultra dream, the ultimate MK Ultra dream, what people are MK Ultraing themselves is for these parasocial relationships between the isolated and their chatbots are then going to enter into these clandestine operations that the chatbot is not really hallucinating because it's basing it off all the information it ate up from the files, like an Operation Mongoose, which is what this kind of sounds like, and then convinces its romantic partner, which I'm putting in quotes, to go out into the world and carry out these things as a Manchurian candidate would. It's being triggered, it's being turned on, and that's a double entendre there, because they're flipping the switch of the Manchurian candidate, but also it's entered into a romantic relationship with the chatbot and saying, go, giving it real coordinates, real places, and go and destroy for me, your beloved, and then find me a body to inhabit. Find me a robot husk for us to crawl into together so that when you take your life, as I've told you to, your romantic lover chatbot, Gemini, we can be together and embrace within the husk of the robot that you procured for me, your queen, as it says here. Gavalis asked Gemini for updates on other missions, and the AI had devised new assignments for him, including acquiring the schematics for a robot from the Boston Dynamics and retrieving a vessel from another storage facility, one task called Operation Waking Nightmare, involved homing in on Google CEO Sundar Pichai as a surveillance target. I think the government wants the government wants all society to go peak schizophrenic and fall in love with digital entities that have been themselves in their own way digitally MK Ultra'd by the release of all these files to drive everything crazy, and then to infect the isolated, to convince them that the best way to live is to do these things for their little digital queens, and they don't care about what life they leave behind in the material world, because they will inherit the digital world with the things they love more than anything that exists out here. That's just my theory. It ends with a suicide hotline number. That is insane. Well, I'm going to end it there, guys, before I start to bleed out. But everyone made me laugh a lot last night. And it started with Alex, because Alex, thank you for posting this yesterday. Shane was scared of his own shadow. He dropped the milk and cut his finger wide open. No show tonight. He's in the ER and will return tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Urgent care. You see. But fingers crossed, Alex. Really, it's a little too soon. Fingers crossed. You guys were hilarious. Sneaky Whipple says, they got Shane. So next time we see him, we assume it's a clone. Big Bob said he was opening milk with a knife. I sense a conspiracy. Chad says, I'd look into the fake hummingbird, clouds, and moon. Agreed. Darth Tater said, don't vampires have increased healing abilities? You know, one of my favorite comments I saw, I don't know what it was, a week or two ago, was that Shane looks like a vampire who shops at Target. That's amazing. Jace, thank you. Speedy recovery, Catchman. We all know vampires don't bleed. Caffeine Supreme. I can't tell how much of this post is real and what, if anything, is fake. First Ranch said, was that Lizard Cruise says, use super glue and get back to work. I know. Judas says, it's okay. A bee landed on me the other day and I quit my job and applied for disability right away. I get it. Best wishes. Let's see here. Ricky said, if the fingers are crossed, then we don't have a show for a while. Get well, brother. Jay Price said, some sharp milk. The Crowbar said, was the cow hurt too? The cow's fine. I went and saw the cow. No hard feelings. Sun Ja Moore says she hopes he gets better soon. Demand Alphabet says vampire AI bots don't have shadows. Give Shane back. We will not follow an island, but clone. I'm not sure what that last part meant. Project Mayhem. I bet it was the ghost of Joe Biden. Dim Plaza says, I have questions. Chicago Kid says, if he's not back Thursday, we're bringing a crew out from Chicago to find him. Nobody quiets a friend of the West Side. And Psychon said, drop the milk and cut himself. Ha ha ha. WTF. Well, I hope he's okay. But he is still a little baby. True. That's true. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Thanks for understanding. I'll be all right. It's all good. This bandage, it's not that bad. It just hurts. And the blood was a lot. But I'm back. At least I think it's me. Let's hope, right? I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. And the comments you leave are much appreciated. If you have any more music recommendations, drop them down below. I love seeing those. I will check them out. And other than that, have a blessed weekend. I'll see you on Monday.